Hey everybody, it's Nora, and today my main focus is showing you how to check if an ordered pair is correct, but I'm going to do a whole bunch of things. So let me show you what I've created here so far. So this first screen is just static. Every single student gets the same problem every time they open it. So they're going to type the ordered pair 2, 4. And it lets the student know if it's correct, it lets the teacher know if it's correct, and I also have it set up that at the end of the activity it tells them their score, or you could keep that hidden if you didn't want to see that. The second thing I'm going to show you is the same idea here. One, I added an image instead of an ordered pair, so we're close to Easter, I made a chocolate bunny. But this is random, so this ordered pair randomly shows up. And it's different for each student, and it's different every time they open the activity. So this ordered pair is 9, 3. And again, the feedback for teacher and student, and it will be scored. So let's check that out so far. So here it tells them their score is 2 points out of 3. All right, the third screen is very similar to the second, except each time they click this button, they get a new random ordered pair. So they could at any point type this in and it will give them feedback. You can see that their points have changed, but if I put a new point in, they lose that point. So, if this is wrong, obviously they don't get it. So let's take a look at how all of this is created. So first, the static point. So I have a graph, math input, and 2 note components is what I have here. So for the graph component, first thing I'm going to do is go in to the graph, not the computation layer, just click right on the grid, and I'm going to put in the ordered pair. I'll just stick with 2, 4. And that's it. I'm going to close out of there. The other thing I need to do, actually I'll wait till the end to remind you what happens if you don't do this. Let's move on to the math input. So I'm going to label these. I don't know that I'll need them all labeled at this point, but eventually I will. Oh, let's name it 5. I'm thinking I'm on the first screen. I'm really on the 5th screen. So I'm going to change all of these to 5s because I see this error message popping up with my score. Wait, you already have note 1. So it recognized that, so I can't use note 1 again. All right, I've labeled everything. This is just going to be information, so I don't need to label that note. All right, I'm going to put directions here. Type the ordered pair. Maybe you could come up with something a little less aggressive, something witty. Okay, so I'm going to go into the math component here, the computation layer, and start putting in how I'll know if the students are correct. So I'm going to call this input 1. So this is where they're inputting their ordered pair. And we're going to use parse ordered pairs, the function there. So if you just type P, it starts to show up. I'm going to hit tab to take a shortcut. So it wants to know, well, where am I getting this ordered pair from? You will get it from math 5. And it will be a string. So it's going to take that string and kind of figure out what the math is behind it. All right, now I want to assign variables to each of those inputs, the x and the y. So I'm going to call this x1 will be the numeric value from this variable that you put right here, input 1. This should be input 5. Dot, and then I want the x value of that ordered pair. Oh, look at, I'm calling everything once. It's 5. All right, y5 equals the numeric value of input 5 dot y. All right, so now it's taken the x and y values of the ordered pairs and stored it into x5 and y5. Now I want to check. So I noticed when I've been browsing the forum for computation layer that this was quite common to have like a check variable. So I'm going to call this check 5. This equals when x5 equals 2. So I'm checking to see if it's right. So x5 would have to equal 2, and y5 would have to equal, I don't like those spaces there, 4. The spaces don't matter. That's more visual in this particular area. All right, then if it's correct, it will be whatever check 5 says. So if I need to change something in here, not a big deal. I don't have to change it everywhere, which allows me to easily copy and paste, which is exactly what I'm going to do here. So this lets the teacher know if it's correct. Right? So if we check this out, oh, this is what I was talking about. Let's see what happens if we don't do this thing. Now it's not telling the teacher. What's going on? Well, we never told it that it doesn't have to see what's going on here. So go into the graph computation layer, and we're going to put in read only true. Now it will work. So it kind of like skips over that part. So 2, 4, 2, 4. There we go. And it lets the teacher know that it's correct. All right, now we want the student to know. So I don't want to type all of that over. I'm going to go back into the math input computation layer, and I'm going to copy everything except that last line. So Command C, and I'm going to come up to the computation layer for this note and paste it right there. Okay, so now the feedback that I want the students to have. I'm going to call this display 5. And this will equal when it's correct. So when check 5 happens, this will be my feedback to the students. Otherwise, this will be the feedback to my students, and we got to put something in there. So my particular feedback is going to be a green check mark. Yours might be a phrase for them being like, nice job, you rock. Otherwise, if they have it wrong, what feedback do you want them to have? Mine's a red check. Maybe you're a little more suave than I am. I hope you are, actually. All right, now, what should be displayed in this content? So this is my typical thing, correct? And then it gets the feedback from display 5. So in order to put a variable here in the script, we're going to do $, curly brackets, the variable, and then finish the quotation marks. So now the students will know if they're correct. Let's just double check. Yes, teacher knows, student knows. Now, if you don't want any of those things to happen, just don't include them in your computation layer. All right, the last thing I'm going to do, you know what? We're going to come back to that. I'm going to move on to the next screen. Now this time, it's going to give the students a random ordered pair. So every time they log into this activity, it will give them some random ordered pair, and each student has a different one. So again, graph, math input, and 2 note components is what I have here. So I'm going to start naming things. This is graph 6, this is math 6, and this is note 6. Now, why am I labeling this? That has to do with the scoring feature, but that will be the last thing I explain here. For this, again, the directions are type the ordered pair. Now, I'm going to click on graph, edit graph here, just click right on the grid. Now, instead of putting the specific numbers that I want, I'm going to use variables, A and B. Done. That's all I have to do at that part. But now I have to put a little bit more into the computation layer. So this will be read only true. I need that, at least I think I need that. But now here's where I'm going to get the randomness from. So R equals a random number generator. And I'm going to leave the parentheses blank. So this just means when, the activity is generated, random numbers. Okay, I need a random number for X and a random number for Y, but I called those A and B. So let's start typing. number A. And to get this, we need the random number generator. We called that R. And what do you want? I want an integer. I'm going with -9 to 9, just in case -10 is like off the screen for them. So this way I'm safe. And I'm going to do the same thing for B. So number B, random integer from -9 to 9. Okay, so I have these random numbers. And let's see what's happening with this so far. If I preview it, notice it's there. If I open it up again, it's somewhere else. So every time I open this up, we've got ourselves a new ordered pair. All right, let's have the teacher know if it's correct. So I'm going in the computation layer for the math input, and I'm going to call this input 2 equals parse ordered pair. Where is this ordered pair coming from? Well, the students are typing it in math 6. Sorry, this is a 6. And it will be latex. All right, I need my x value and my y value. So x6 equals, this is very similar to what we did on the last screen. Numeric value of input 6, the x value, and y6 equals numeric value. What I like about this is I feel and I get this feedback from the computational layer that I'm on the right track, because what I want to type shows up for me. And it's like, oh, yes, good, I'm on the right track. And then when I hit dot, you know, my options show up. So that helps me too if I get stuck. It's like, what's next? It kind of tells me. All right, we have those. Now I want to check. So I'll call it check 6. Is when x6 equals, now this is where I have to get the number from the graph component. So that was called graph 6, and I need it to be number A, because the x component was called A. And I need the y's to match as well. So y6 equals graph 6 dot number B. So this is correct when check 6 happens. Whew. I'd like to check. All right, that is at -1, -9. It tells me I am correct here. Now I want the students to know. So again, I'm going to copy and paste down in the math component. I'm going to grab everything except this correct part. So I'm going to copy all of this, copy. Go into the note component, computation layer, paste. And now this is where I have that feedback. I'm going to call this display 6. When it's correct, so when check 6 happens, here's my feedback. Otherwise, here's my feedback. And this is where you can be nice or not. Again, this could just be copied from the other screen. And the content of the note. And I'm going to check. Where is it there? 9, 9. Very cool. Now, here's one thing I absolutely love about Desmos. Do you have students who would do this and they cannot be bothered to write parentheses, especially when it's something on paper? I noticed that with so many of my students. I'll emphasize to them, if it's an ordered pair, it has to have parentheses, and I will still get this. Desmos doesn't put up with that. It doesn't play around. You need those parentheses or it's wrong. Thank you, Desmos. Thank you. I got a funny story to tell you then. I'll wait till the end, so those of you who don't want to hear it can just leave. But let's hope I remembered to tell you. All right. The next screen we're going to do, this is where they have the button that will allow them to, you know, get point after point after point after point. So I'm going to copy this entire screen. So I'm going to do Command C, Command V, and I'm going to go through and just change all the numbers. That's fine. So down here, I'm going to make all these 6s a 7. 7, 7, 7, 7. Is this necessary? I don't know. I found that with the scoring feature that I do, it probably is, but if you're just, you know, having screen after screen, it may not be. Oh, and up here. So everything that is a 6 is now a 7 because this is screen 7. I hope I got them all. Okay, now I need a button. So let's get a button component and we're going to name that. I'm going to call it button 7. And the default is the button that says try it, but I'm going to change it to get a new point. All right, so we have to change just a little bit in the computation layer here of the graph component. So here with the random number generator, when you don't put anything in parentheses, it just generates a new one when you open it. But I want it to generate a new one when I press the button. So the name of the button is button 7 dot, and then it gives you all your choices because I always seem to forget. This is called press count is what I want. And that should do it. So we're going to preview. And now it has the ordered pair, what is that, 8, -6, and I'm correct. I can get a new point. And I'm going to call that, what is that, -4, 8. Love it. All right, it all works out. Okay, now let's put a screen on that tells them a score. So I'm going to new screen. I just call it score, and it's going to need a note component. All right. So I'm going back through these 3 screens, and I'm going to give them a variable that gives them the score. So if it's right, they get this many points, and if it's wrong, it gets this many points. So I'm going into the note computation layer here, and underneath, I'm going to call this 5 because it's screen 5. So this is a when otherwise statement. So when it's correct, so when check 5 happens, they're going to get 1 point, otherwise 0. So the value of this variable called 5 depends on whether check 5 happened or not. I'm going to do the same thing for screen 6 and 7. So screen 6, note component, 6 is equal to when check 6 happens, 1 point, otherwise nothing. Now you can work out partial credit here if you want. I think one of my other videos has that in, so, uh-oh, I didn't change that to a 7. Told you I missed one. All right, going in here, 7 equals when check 7 happens, 1 point, otherwise 0. Okay, so I did all that. Now in here, I need to pull all those variables into the screen. So to do that, I'm just going to use the same variable over again. I didn't notice that there was an issue doing that. So that first one came from, I called it, not 1, it was 5. It came from note 5. We're going to get the script of, and I called it 5. So I'm naming it the same variable over again. I'm going to do the same thing for 6. That came from note 6, the script 6. That was what I called the variable back on that other screen. And again for 7, note 7, script 7. Okay, now I'm going to define a new variable called score. This will be the numeric value of what I get when I add these three variables together. So you need quotation marks. I'm going to put 2 right away. And inside those, you do that thing, you know, when we're putting the feedback for the students in, we have to do $, curly brackets, 5, close the curly brackets. I want to add that to 6. So all that weird notation, 6, and 7, weird notation, 7. And then, you know, the quotation marks should close there. Now the content of this note. Your score is weird notation, variable called score, period, quotation marks. That should be it. Let's check to see how we did here. My score is 0. Let me go answer a question here. Let's see, this is -3, 6. Correct, I'm correct. And I did get a point for that. All right. Okay, so that story I was going to tell you. So those of you who aren't interested in hearing this story, I hope you have a great day. But when my son was much younger, he was playing Minecraft. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but you have like all these tools and inventory and whatnot. And there was some kind of glitch in the game that if he did not take his inventory and put it in the chest and close the game, the next time he came to play the game, everything would be erased. He lost everything. All the hard work he had done, all the tools he had built, gone. So what I noticed is, you know, we'd say to him, hey buddy, you know, you got to shut the game down. It's time for whatever. He would frantically be like putting everything in the chest. And I'm like, what are you doing? Let's go. Come on, turn off the game. And he's like, but if I don't put this stuff away, I lose it. And I was just like, you know, why am I not that tough in real life? Why can't I make him put his toys away in his toy chest? And, you know, the way that Minecraft was able to get him to put all his stuff away before he left. And I was like, oh, wow. So Desmos kind of reminds me of that. Like, you're not going to put your parentheses? Fine. You're not getting the points. So thought that was very interesting how technology can, you know, without the guilt, you know, just these are the parameters, stay within them kind of thing. All right, everybody. I know this one was a little long, but I'm glad that you stayed with me and that you're learning stuff, hopefully. And, you know, if you were to make this and want to share, feel free to put it in the comments. Have a great day, everyone.